All right, so this evening I want to take the opportunity to give an overview of where we are and what the final recommendation is that we are making to the board. If at any time anyone does notice that we are no longer streaming, because I know we have quite a few people that are taking advantage of the hybrid option, please let me know so I can alert our tech crew and they can address it immediately. I wanted to start by just giving a timeline of what really has us here uh, this evening. I've attempted to fill a lot of the emails that have come my way, and uh, in some of the emails, I've been able to give more detail than others because I can't be premature as we're moving through a procedural process. Uh, there were some emails where individuals felt that this was rushed. There were some emails with clarity needed around the change in the configuration of our grades with respect to our fifth grade potentially staying in the K4 model, which would make that K5, and our sixth grade going to our middle school, Cedarbrook, making that configuration grades 6, 7, and 8. One thing that I do want to make everyone aware of in the community is this was something that I know the Cheltenham community has been having a lot of dialogue, even years previous to me beginning as superintendent, in terms of our model and EP serving as what we now call an intermediate school. One of the things that we know is grounded in research is that if we are able to limit transition, the research does show that academically our students do better. Um, so eliminating that additional transition to a 5-6 could definitely be viewed as a positive. And initially, it is the feasibility study which we started, which really put us on this journey. Elkins Park, based on the life of the building, I believe it was built in 1922, has always been a question. You can check me, Ms. Mulhern, on the dates, but I'm going from memory, and that could have been Myers because Myers was a very old building as well, which was um, revisited, I believe, here in 2009. So on February 9th, we put out a request for a proposal to secure architectural firm to conduct a feasibility study on, and again, February 9th, 2023. On March 14th, 2023, during a legislative meeting, the board did approve KCBA to begin with that study. February 6th, 2024, during a Financials Affair Committee meeting, KCBA presented facility capacity and program study, which included a comprehensive facility condition assessment summary and an enrollment study performed by Montgomery County. On April 2nd, 2024, during a Facilities and Financial Affairs Committee's meeting, KCBA presented a refined facilities capacity and program study. On April 10th, 2024, facilities survey was released to the public. Let me pivot there. That was the first opportunity for us to really put some type of communication out to our community at large. Let me state that date again. That was May 1st, 2024. We had approximately 900 responses to that survey. One of the questions that was asked on that survey was, have you reviewed the facilities planning materials that have been posted on the school district website? 71% of the individuals being 619, stated that yes, they have had that opportunity. 252 individuals, which correlates to 28.93%, stated that they did not. Another question on the survey stated, "How do you feel in terms of strongly disagree or strongly agree? Please indicate your agreement on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of our real estate taxes." I think you can all agree that our taxes are something that brings angst. And in terms of being superintendent, that's one of the things that I am charged with, is how are we being good stewards of the money? When you look at the enrollment study, it shows that we've pretty much been flatlined in enrollment, and we're projected 10 years out to continue to basically be flatlined currently in the enrollment. As we go through this, we will demonstrate that through the projects that are going to potentially be underway in the near future, uh, we no longer really have a need for Elkins Park as it currently exists. The bottom line is, when we ask about the shift of fifth grade going to or remaining in the elementary, and sixth grade going to our middle, we had right around 83% of the respondents who were in favor uh, of that shift. If you're ever over 80%, that's pretty favorable data in terms of how uh, a set of individuals feel about any type of decision that is being taken under consideration. On April 13th, 2024, during a legislative meeting, the board accepted KCBA's long-range planning study calling for additions at Glenside Elementary School and Cedarbrook Middle School to enable the closure of Elkins Park School and a district-wide grade realignment to K5, 6-8, and 9-12. The fact that the recommendations from the feasibility study were approved and that the construction was approved to start those projects at Glenside and middle school, uh, respectively, is what really started to put the wheels in motion. Even here today, because one of the questions that came was, when was this decision for reconfiguration actually made? Because there's some individuals in the community that were not aware that there was ever consideration around fifth grade remaining in our elementary schools and sixth grade going to Cedarbrook in terms of 6, 7, and 8. I'm simply giving the timeline to paint the picture that this has been very public, because all of these meetings that I just mentioned were meetings that were open to the public. We've attempted to be as transparent as possible through these public sessions. And as many board members alluded to, this is not just about the fact that we had a leak that caused us to shut down Elkins Park for 2 days. This was much bigger than that as a result of the feasibility study that was conducted. So whether we did it now in terms of a recommendation for consideration or 2 years down the road, this was the path ultimately as a district that was approved to move forward. On January 7th, 2025, KCBA delivered construction project updates. And I'll stop there in terms of just the timeline, and hence, why we sit here today at this specific point in time. But I thought it was important to frame that for those who, I appreciate you being here in person, and for those individuals that we have virtually with us this evening. So as I now go into the actual recommendation, I think the purpose is pretty clear in terms of why we are gathered here today. This is a follow-up to last Tuesday's meeting. I've been upfront in the beginning in terms of saying that there will not be a vote that is taken tonight. I apologize to the community publicly in this forum because I do believe that was a remark that I made last Tuesday. From last Tuesday to today, there are new developments which we will unpack for you guys, for everyone, in the spirit of transparency, which will explain why this vote is not occurring and what the due diligence is that we have to do as a district, and more importantly, for the sake of our board. If we want to go to the slide which references current status of Elkins Park School facility, I think I've done a good job in the two bullets where it states the feasibility study and then the ongoing maintenance concerns. I think I've been pretty thorough with hitting the point of our feasibility study. There were facilities issues which warranted us needing to bring in a third party and really do a deep analysis of what our current state is so that we could come up with a long-term capital plan in which we would then, as an administrative team, be responsible for implementing. If you were with us last week, Mr. Swigert presented on some of the maintenance concerns of our current building at Elkins Park, piping being one, that it would approximately be about $1.5 million to have new pipes ran to the existing boilers. We also discussed the issues around the electrical infrastructure. There's issues in terms of compliance with OSHA. And we already know, based on the board's direction, that the recommendation was made that Elkins Park has outlived its life and truly is a tear down, to be quite honest with you. I know that is blunt, but I have to speak what the current state of that building is right now. I know and have to acknowledge the great things that are still happening at Elkins Park currently, even under the current physical structure or facility itself. And I've been very clear to state that this has never been about the people. It's been about the brick and mortar. Um, Programmatically, as we move through the presentation, you will see when we'll have an opportunity to go into more detail in terms of, even with our recommendation, which is going to be under consideration, how do we still honor the richness of so many of the programmatic things that are happening at Elkins Park. Next slide, please. So let's look at the recommendation for the board. It is the recommendation of this administrative team that our rising fifth graders would remain at our elementary schools for the 25-26 school year, that the rising sixth graders would move to our modulars starting in the 25-26 school year under the umbrella of Cedar Brook. With respect to Epic, which is currently at the modulars, we are still actively looking at options for lease space. If we are unable to secure a feasible option for lease, then we are going to have to look at reconfiguring the modules as they are now. And those are the only two viable options right now that we have in terms of moving forward. So this is the recommendation. And what I did not know is that even if we had chose recommendation 3, which was to keep our 6th grade, move them to the modulars and have them attached to Elkins Park, as a result of the fact that the majority of Elkins Park would not be used by students, or students would not physically be housed there, we would still have to go through the process of closing Elkins Park. So it didn't matter if we went option 3, move to the mods, connected to EP, or option 4, move 6th grade to the mods under the umbrella of Cedarbrook. Mod 3 would have also had to be under the umbrella of Cedarbrook. And that was new information that came forth between last Tuesday's meeting and prior to us getting here today, which has now also changed the scope of sequence in terms of how we proceed with facilitating this. There's been a lot of questions, and you can go to the next slide around the elementary school enrollment. And I'm gonna let Dr. Savage present this slide. Um, there's been a lot of questions from the community around our ability to house our 5th graders at our current 4th grade locations. I do have to own the fact that there was a slide, this particular slide, which was presented last Tuesday, which had the wrong capacity numbers for WinCode. It was based on the old WinCode and not on our current WinCode that I believe was construction was completed in 2015. So I want Dr. Savage just to walk us through so that we can see right here the graphic representation of what our elementaries currently look like for this year, what they would look like for keeping 5th grade at their respective elementary schools, and then what the capacity at each school is. And anything else you would want to add.
Thank you so much for that. So on this slide, you see that in light blue, we have the 2024-2025 school enrollment at our elementary schools, which is the current school enrollment. In dark blue, we have a draft proposed enrollment for the 25-26 school year based upon a rising and incoming kindergarten class of 65 students at each school, which we are, estimating and ballparking based upon our current numbers. And in orange, you see the actual building capacity of each school over, and you see that between those numbers, there is space in each of the buildings to accommodate the students that would be retained as rising 5th graders for next year. I think the larger question is around how you pivot the facility to accommodate that and ensure that there are classroom spaces for these 5th grade classes. And those conversations will be ones that will have to be had with the principals of these elementary schools and their school staffs as we are planning and moving forward. Dr. Scriven?
Thank you. Next slide speaks to staffing. I have to be crystal clear with this, and I articulated this last Tuesday, or I believe Wednesday, whenever we had our last meeting. It was Wednesday. Keep saying Tuesday. There will be no furloughs associated with this. None of our teachers are in jeopardy of losing positions. Once we know what direction we're moving, the meetings with our faculty and staff are going to happen immediately. They are our valued commodity next to our students. We definitely want to give them all the respect that they are so deserving of, and want to make sure that through this process they still have a voice. Uh, we explained last week what this would look like in terms of um, the medical model, where teachers would actually be able to choose which assignment they would want for the following year. Uh, and then we have to do our due diligence with seeing where individuals are certificated and making sure that mutually we can accommodate that the fit and the direction that we move is one that is mutually agreed upon. This is not a situation where we are taking a point of being directive. We're taking a point of operating in a continued spirit of collaboration. So as it relates to that slide, and not just for uh, teachers, I said faculty and staff. So that's anyone which is currently in Elkins Park and any position. Um, our faculty and staff are also going to have a voice around what our scheduling is going to look like and the programmatic implications that are potentially going to be a result of the recommendation that has been put forth. So um, we have two slides on here around cost details and um, additional embedded costs. Those slides are slides which were reviewed last week. Um, again, we don't have updates yet in terms of the lease option, but we are currently pursuing that. As you are aware, it's a challenge in our district because we're landlocked, and I do not want to look at a lease option which would take us beyond the boundaries of our district, and that is what is really putting limited constraints on our ability to be able to pivot. Um, and Mrs. Swigert spoke last week around the potential cost savings of closing Elkins Park. I'll be perfectly honest. I really think at the end of this, we'll be doing extremely well as a district to really be cost neutral. And that's what I'm really looking at. As you know, there are going to be some additional costs if this recommendation is approved, because there's going to be a need for additional administrators and other um, positions at our elementary side schools based on the increase in size of those schoolhouses. So um, we do not have this all worked out because we would have been premature to do it prior to knowing whether or not uh, this is truly what the direction is going to be. But when you look at our next steps related to this, it really sums it all up. There has to be a public hearing, and that's when we're going to have to provide a detailed plan. That public hearing is going to probably happen 15 days out from today. Is that correct?
It'll actually be 15 days out from the date that a legal notice is actually published and circulated. Because we want to, of course, make sure that we're in compliance with the Sunshine Act and give our community notice that we are holding the meeting.
So more than likely, it would be in the month of February. All right. So safe to say that there will be a public meeting in the month of February where our administrative team is going to be responsible for presenting a detailed plan on logistically and programmatically what this would look like. At that meeting is when the public again will have an opportunity to have public comment, and um, the floor will be open both for those who come in person and for those who will join virtually. You just heard Mrs. Savage say that a legal notice will have to be published. She explained that from the date that that is published, 15 days out from there, is when that public hearing would have to occur. We will be looking at publishing this in the immediate future. I could probably safely say before this week is out. And then at least 3 months after the date of the hearing, the board will convene for what then will be a legislative meeting, rather it be scheduled during a regular scheduled legislative meeting or a date where we would have to do a special legislative meeting. But that is the point in time that there would actually be a vote. Please understand to the public that I attempted to be as responsive as I could to the emails that I received that were attached to last Wednesday's public comment questions that folks were not able to ask, um, but did email. And ultimately, I responded to those as soon as I could. There are still a couple that are out there, and I need to share that there's certain things I cannot or could not say in email prior to even having this meeting, because then I'm out of process. So it's been challenging to respond, because I do believe, contrary to what some may think, that transparency is everything. And by no means or at any time have we tried to sweep anything under the rug. We believe in being an open book. And I believe in attempting to have as fluid communication as we possibly can. We are in uncharted territory. We're moving a direction that we have not had to move, but it is clearly going from a situation where it's just talk to now there's actionable items that are having to be taken. I am not delusional. I know that everyone will not be happy around this recommendation, but in my heart of hearts, I do feel that it is the right recommendation that's being made in terms of ensuring that all of our students are receiving the high quality instruction that they should in a conducive environment. And I lean more in the latter part of that statement. This year has been a rock star year in many ways for our fifth and sixth graders at Elkins Park. But by no means is it a conducive environment. And I do not feel that the virtual option is a viable option for any short or long-term period. It's proven that it does not have the benefits, and we are still rebounding from the instructional loss that many of our students experience post-COVID. So even though some may think that that's an option, from my perspective, it is not. So that concludes my report, and I turn it back over to Madam Chair, and thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I don't have anything else to add. We will post the notice and date for the public hearing. And that is where we will not only share more detail, or more details will be shared, but also the public will have the opportunity to comment on that information. And so with that, I take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.